Warning, the following video has flashing lights and also includes content that may be deemed inappropriate for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Once again, Sonya Lynn-Mynatt has found her way into the darkness of the Fox Den for another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on Starfox Radio. Remember, I love the darkness, and the darkness loves I. It is my new friend. Absolutely delicious. I am still so hungry, and I could feed for centuries. Yet, Sonya and myself must once again take a walk into the darkness with the Midnight Society to figure out the Dogman phenomenon. And just remember, you can't spell slaughter without laughter.
Stood up. I said, oh my god, it's a werewolf. And everybody in the car freaked out.
My creatures of the night, yes, once again you have found your way to the late night fire to burn some timber as Sonya and myself read a few chapters from the Midnight Society book in an attempt to figure out the strange occurrences across the United States. I do hope everyone has been well and is ready to again nerd out and learn some excellent stuff. Sonya, how you been, my friend?
I've been doing well. It's been a long couple of weeks, but I'm doing all right. Getting ready for the cold weather to hit here and, you know, just getting ready to settle in for the winter. Get ready for Thanksgiving, I suppose.
This is excellent, and yes, being cold is something unfortunately that up here in New England, well, being near Canada and Maine, we're pretty much always used to that. And yes, to the audience, well, Sonya did get attacked by a canine, not the type of canine that, we're going to be speaking about, but, she is good, but had a little run in, and luckily, she still has all 10 digits. So you're feeling all right now, right?
Yeah, it was just the tip of my thumb. So, yeah, definitely. I was breaking up. I was I was dog sitting a dog from a friend or for my boyfriend actually. It's his dog, and he was gone. And like I was feeding the cats and threw a cat can into the trash, and the dogs got it out and immediately started fighting over it. And yeah, that's what happened. But I'm okay. No, I'm the worst. That's what happens when you have. I have like four dogs, and my sister has like four dogs. So.
Ooh, see, we got the canine pack. So to everybody out there, yeah, Sonya's got a large dog, but that's her dog. So imagine a wild, untamed dog or any sort of predator out there, what it'd be capable of. So no, this is good that you have all your digits still, and that is extremely excellent. And before we dive into the Wampus cat tonight, yes, you heard that to the audience, some interesting stuff, and that falls into the Dogman sightings and what's occurring with that, because people have seen hyena like things with manes, wolves, canines with manes, large cats. So we're gonna dive into that in just a second. But recently, because I always like to learn. I mean, last night it is 3:50 in the morning, okay? And that's whatever, not too bad. I'm in my casket, just chilling. I mean, I'm pretty cold a little bit because, yeah, like I said, we're up here in pretty much Canada. But I have my Xbox control under my covers. My phone, is just beside me, and I pretty much know it's the end of my production for the day slash evening when my phone is that close and I just don't even have the energy or effort to pick it up. So I do have the effort though because my controller is laying on top of my stomach to just turn and find something to watch on Xbox while staying warm. And I was watching a ton of things about potentially extinct animals and just nerding out because I love to learn in general. And one of the very cool things I found out is I knew potentially 10,000, 11,000 years ago, the Dinopithecus, this giant baboon. All right, yes. So this thing was 6 to 6.5 feet tall, looking a man in the face, and that was the average size. Well, everyone said 10,000, 11,000 years ago. Ooh, recently they found some evidence that might suggest maybe only 1,000 years ago these supposedly went extinct. So wait a second, 10,000, 11,000 is a blink of the eye. But now you're only going to tell me 1,000? There's no way that thing's not kicking around.
It is okay, so that's the thing about our time frames with everything anyway. They're all messed up. Like you really can't trust um, what we think. And by the time we discover something, it's liable to be, and I hate to say it like this, it's liable to be extinct. It could be here when we were around, and then we just didn't know it was there. We turn around and it's extinct already, and then we find traces of it, and we're like, oh, well, looky here. Kind of like, I mean, they didn't even discover the gorillas in the Congo or in the jungle until what, the 1920s or 40s or 50s or something like that. I mean, it takes a minute for people to know that they're there. And by the time you know that they're there, we might have caused so much destruction that they're not there no more.
Excellent, right there. No, I agree totally. And that ties into actually something I wasn't even going to mention, but you just churned it up in the file cabinet in my brain. Or as my uncle says, he's like, yeah, you always do got that hamster wheel churning up there all night, huh? So,
Yeah, because it's good to have other people's perspective bring you on other thoughts for yourself.
right? The Billy or the Bondo ape is an ape that was just recently found, which is they're still not sure if it's this chimpanzee group, and maybe some of these are just larger or more aggressive, or it's an actual separate version of the chimpanzee that has nothing to do with the modern day version of the chimpanzee. And they are what they call lion unalivers by the local indigenous tribes because they have no problem basically using spears and things. Not spears like I'm talking about Neanderthals, but pieces of wood and things that they've turned
Or
into.
picking something up and whacking you with it, or
Yes,
to
and they will
unalive you with
just
it.
unalive these lions, and you're like, whoa. And it's pretty creepy right there. Also, here's another super cool thing, but dark as heck. And people are going to be like, wait a second, how can this be cool and dark? And my response is just knowledge and learning in general to me is fascinating. So whether it's something disturbing like the things that might have occurred during medieval torture times, yeah, sure, I'm not trying to rewatch it all the time, but to learn about stuff like that, it's still knowledge. Or if it's learning about dinosaurs and how recently in Alaska that they found new species of dinosaurs. That's what I mean. All of that is fascinating to me. Okay, so when I found out about this, along the basically evolutionary path, like with anything, herbivores or any pack-oriented animal, yes, we're together in the family unit, right? Because we enjoy the company of others, but it is also pivotal for survival. So as humorous when people say is, oh yeah, you don't have to be faster than the bear, you just have to be faster than the person behind you. That's literally the point of family and groups and evolution is so, like the more dominant, the more prideful animal survives, survival of the fittest. So that was very interesting to find out as well.
Yeah, it's and some things, I mean, I'm sure some things are just going to become extinct anyway. And it's not that they weren't going to become extinct anyway. It was just, man has sped up the process for some things to have become extinct anyway, which is what they were going to do because, like you said, it's just an evolutionary chain of things, the survival of the fittest, whatever's left. and it's constantly evolving and moving forward, and so just whatever's left. It's just, yeah.
Yes, and before I toss you the mic to dive into the gnarly stuff that you're gonna share with us, another great thing too is I'm a huge fan of Survivor Man and also Cody Lundin. And if
Hmm.
everyone doesn't know, they'll know who Les Stroud is. There you go, Survivor Man. But Cody Lundin should be very well known as well. And he did basically a show called Dual Survivor.
Yeah, I was like, he was with that other guy. I was like,
Yes,
I can't think of his
Dave.
name.
And
Yeah.
just to give people an idea out there of what something that has intelligence is capable of doing, I really highly suggest just watching what these survivalists can do. I mean, there's great survivalists, women out there as well on Alone, but just these happen to just be three men, Les Stroud and then Dave and Cody. But more of what I'm trying to say is that what they're able to do with literally nothing, okay? What they can create. And people sometimes just forget how something is able to survive. Like, for example, I feel bad with the neighborhood squirrels outside. I didn't really have food myself too much for the last week. I was just eating like chicken and rice. Didn't have a chance to go to the store and get peanuts. The neighborhood squirrels, obviously, and birds and things, I like to feed them. But I feel bad. And my uncle's like, dude, those squirrels have been around for thousands of years without you feeding them. And I'm like, I know, man, but still, it's $13 for this huge bag of peanuts, and I get to like hang out with something that makes me happy. And it's no different than kind of how we got into hanging out with wolves. And the whole example of the reason I stated that is just to see how smart when someone thinks that you and I right now are talking and we're creating podcasts and oh, what they're talking about, they're smart. Sure, that's in human terms, but I don't know about you. I don't think I could survive all winter by myself outside, having to make like a shelter and store my food throughout the whole entire year. I don't know. And so many wild animals have to do that. That to me is a sign of intelligence. If you are an idiot, then you're sure as heck not going to survive outside.
Yeah, so that's one of my pastimes is survival skills, and it's better to have it not not need it than to need it not have it kind of thing. So like this year was I practiced bow drills this year. That was really my big set, was to be able to just pick up different kinds of wood and see what works best, especially for my area. So yeah, so there's if you don't have at least a few survival skills, you know what I mean? I mean, if you don't have, you're gonna have to have the, and I hate to say it like this, you're gonna have the right amount of good survival skills, because you don't want to just drag your days into being like longer and awful, if that makes sense. Like you don't want to live longer if you're not gonna like, are you just gonna drag out your days to starve, or you
Right?
know? I built a hut, so at least I'll have somewhere to go to,
See,
perish.
that's excellent. Because like you
So you
said,
have
it's
to
so
have,
hard to be
you
able
can
to
have
do
a
that.
couple of set of like survival skills, but you need to have enough survival skills.
Yes, 100%. And actually, you're gonna love
I
this
don't, I have
fact.
a few, I don't have enough. Like I know that, but I also have like I have a big trust in the universe. I have a really good like sense of knowing when I'm out there, like when I'm mushroom hunting. And I don't know how to explain it, but like when you're out there, like you can hear things call to you, like go this way, and you always have to trust that, because the moment that you don't listen to it and you doubt it, it goes away, if that makes sense. But like the forest will lead you to things. It will feed you, it will provide, but you just have to know how to listen. And I'm with the ADHD and and the sheer panic, if I was in a survival situation, I'm sure it'd be hard to like really open up and listen to my survival skills. It's not like just taking a hike in the woods and being able to go and find mushrooms here, or stuff here, or whatever. It's different.
That's awesome. So before we have you dive in, one more thing that reminds me of is actually one that is factual and one that is not factual. But to anyone out there that hasn't seen Prey, you know how everyone wants to always, it's never depicted, it's just a macho kind of sexism where it's always going to be the man hero. Well, in Prey, you have a really badass that takes on the predator and the indigenous culture, and it's on Hulu, and it's unbelievable. But now to the factual side, again, everyone. Hey, I have most of my friends are women. I've always been like that just because with acting and modeling, a lot of dudes would always hate on me or try to go after girls I was dating, backstab me, whatever. That's not the moral of it. But either way, I'm super pro supporting women and giving women opportunities and always trying to find dirt as to just why women are just as dope as men. And I found out two really cool things. One is that during World War II and World War One, the best snipers in the world were actually women
They
because
still are.
yes, they can sit still longer and they need less food and they can fit into smaller areas. So that's awesome. But recently now, even prehistoric times, because everyone wants to be like, no, women were just gatherers. They couldn't go hunting.
Yeah, no, they weren't.
No, actually, that's incorrect. They have found numerous Neanderthal and Denisovian and other sites showing that women were buried with weapons and also hunting tools and gear. And there is plentiful evidence that they participated in big game hunting just as much as the men did. So I just thought that was another really cool, interesting thing because, like I said, I mean, I love to learn in general, but I feel like a lot of times people want to squash, women's opportunity. And right there, I guess that
Yeah.
knowledge has been out for a while, but the first people that found it were like, nah, we're just going to discard this women aspect because we're these dudes and we're going to
Must
be
have been his
hating.
wife.
Right?
Must have been a king's wife.
So yeah, I
Start
figured you'd
making
dig
up
that.
stuff. Yeah, but well, it was like honestly, the women were really like they were really either treated better or as equals to men, really until the spread of religion.
Hmm.
And I hate to say it like that, but it's and like I don't want to offend anybody with that, but it's the truth. When religion spread, it knocked it knocked things differently. You know, it gave out this power trip to instead of an equal society.
Hmm.
It kind of played a man. It kind of played in the man's favor to be like, oh, it's a man's world. It's this and that. Pagans believed in divorce and they believed that, the woman had a right to speak just like a man did, and they believed in, an equal society. Men were just as important. That's why the women, they fought beside the men. They were just as important.
Right?
It's not more important
Yes.
because they could also bring souls into the world, which means they were a portal from the divine to bring in souls and, new warriors, new souls into the world, whatever.
I love how
But
you just said that because I actually was just going to bring up another scientific aspect right there again. I'm not trying to, persuade anyone's opinions or etc. But yes, if you look at nature, if you look at anything, doesn't matter, human, animal, women are way more important to the success of a species than it is for males, okay? Because males are predisposed, meaning that's why you have like bright colored males and things that are trying to attract the females. But guess
look at
what?
me.
That's a dinner bell for the predators too. While the female is the, color brown and she can hide in the brush, this one's all like blue and green, like wah, wah. So I've also noticed as well, side with, some of the neighborhood animals or even stray cats that would come up, the males are always the first ones to kind of build a bond with you before the females do. I mean, there was a female stray cat that was out there for 5 or 6 months where I'd put food out there, but she would never come closer than like 15 yards away, maybe. I'd see her, so I'd know she was hungry and stuff. But then after that time frame, I could get close enough where I could pick her up and like check her for ticks and stuff. You know what I mean? But the
Yeah.
males would come up within probably the first week or so. I couldn't pick them up or so, but I could touch their head while they were eating or something. They would back a little away, but come right back over. You see what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, I mean I mean that seems like a normal kind of thing. You see a family on the beach and it's always the dad comes up and asks the other family some stuff. It's
yes,
always the dad, it always, hey you guys, I don't want to bother you guys, but it's always
yes. So it's a real thing. It's just by nature, women need to be more protective because, like you said, I mean,
I'll
for
stay here with the
reproduction and
baby.
such. Yes. So crazy stuff.
Yeah,
It is
no.
hilarious. Well,
Yeah.
I do want to toss you the mic now, and I want you to blow some people's mind because you've had a pretty gnarly experience, and I don't know if you've had more than one. I just know what the one that you've potentially mentioned to me briefly. So yes, I would love to hear this.
Yeah. So the Wampus cat, like it's not something that I actually knew what it was um when it started. For weeks here on the property, like 2018, or yeah, 2018, and um, like something had like all summer long, something had been what sounded like well whistles. You would hear chattering, almost like the sound like when you're driving past a park and there's a bunch of kids on the playground and all the kids are playing. We would hear that. I was hearing that outside, and it's not like the normal like Sasquatch sounds that I'm used to. It's not the normal animal sounds. Um, it was just something, and I would hear it all the time, and it was just like all summer long, all into the fall, I would hear it, and I would just hear it every now and then. Um, Sometimes I would hear it like it was outside my window. Sometimes it would be like it was just in the woods. When I'd go feed the pigs, you would just hear it. It would make you would hear other sounds too that I can't describe exactly, like I don't even know how to describe it. Like just weird noises that I wasn't used to. It's not something that that I was accustomed to, and it was just like people were like, well, maybe it's a fox, and maybe it's this, and maybe it's that. And I was like, well, it could be, I guess, because we've had like roosters or something that don't sound like normal roosters crowing, and they definitely sound odd. But and so whatever this was, um, would just mess with me. And the Sasquatches here don't really they don't they're around, but they stopped messing with me like years and years ago, I guess. Um, but whatever this was, it was just coming in at night, and I didn't really know what it was. But like I would hear it chattering, and I would hear this and that. And me and my friend Courtney would be gone all day, and we'd come back, and it was like midnight or something like that, and I needed to go out and feed the pigs. And I have a barn behind my house, and behind the barn is where the pigs are. And it was like midnight, and I was probably like December. I know there was frost on the ground. It was pretty cold, and we were walking through there, and I kept hearing the chattering again, which I'd been hearing. And my friend Courtney, I was like, "Do you hear that?" And I was like, "It sounds like kids." And I was like, "It's like the kids outside," because my sister's got kids, and I was like, "Is it the kids?" And she was like, "No, it's they got school tomorrow." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess they do." Um, so I was like, why would they be out here? Why would they be outside at midnight anyway? But like, it was just, it was weird. And we kept hearing these weird noises, and we walked all the way to the barn, and everything was cool. And um, I was sitting there, and I had a pig bucket, and I had feed in it. And you have to like, just how the feed is, it's like wet. So you have to stir it down and pour some out, and then stir it again, and then pour. And everything was cool. We were out there, and we were talking, and Courtney was standing beside me, and we kept hearing these noises, and finally it was just like weird. Um, she actually, Courtney just got like uncomfortable all of a sudden. She turned the light off. She turned the light off, and she stepped behind me and didn't say anything at first. And I'm sitting there like pouring lots of bucket, and just all of a sudden she's like, "Can we go? Are you done yet?" And she just sounds so like uncomfortable, like something's wrong. When we were totally fine a minute ago, and just all of a sudden, just like something's wrong. And she's just like, and I was like, "Yeah, are you okay?" And she was like, "Yeah, I really want to sit down. I just really want to go inside and sit down for a minute." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, I'm almost done." And I was like, "Do you hear that noise?" And she's like, "Yeah, I hear it. Can we go?" And I was like, "Yeah, let me see your flashlight," because she had the good flashlight, and I had a crappy flashlight. And and the thing was that like a few weeks before that, I had told her like, if you're out on the property and you're like you're trying to like, because we have a lot of coon hunters and stuff like to come around and stuff. And I was like, if you're out here and you're just trying to like move around where people don't know that you're out here, I was like, you want to turn your flashlight off. I was like, first off, the moment your flashlight comes on, everything knows where you are. And so she's standing back there behind me in the dark, and I'm not like catching on. And she was like, "Yeah, you can have the flashlight." And she just tosses me the flashlight. She's still like not saying anything. She's just like just really uncomfortable. And I took the flashlight, and I kept hearing like I said, I kept hearing the noises. It was like chattering, like two teenage girls giggling to each other or something. And my dogs were out. I want to clarify too that I have at the time I had like 5 or 6 dogs, and every one of them, from the littlest Chihuahua to all of them, were outside with me, out there with me, and they were all running around the woods. And I was like, "Do you hear that?" And I kind of followed like the noise where I was hearing it, and it was right behind the pig barn, or the pig fence, and the pig fence is kind of like on a hill. And sitting right directly in front of where I'm standing on the hill, sitting on her butt, was this cat-like creature. It had big green eyes. It looked like it was wearing a leotard because it's like its hair on its body was so smooth that it looked like it was wearing like a suit. It had two breasts that went down into like almost like a human-like body, but again, she had fur. She was very slender, and I say she because I got very feminine vibes from her. And she had just like legs that went down into like almost like a human-like ankle and into like a cat-like paw on the end of her foot. So she had like a human-like ankle into like a cat-like paw, which was, her feet were crazy, but she was sitting with her legs straight out towards me, sitting on her butt, just sitting there. My dog was sitting beside her. And immediately, like as soon as I saw it, I was in shock, and I screamed, "What the F is that?" And Courtney wouldn't answer me. And I was just like, "Oh my God." And I kept going, "Courtney, do you see that? Courtney, do you see that?" And she wouldn't say anything. And I was like, "Yo," I was like, "Yeah, Courtney," and I like turn around like to get her. And she was like, "Yeah, yeah, I see it. Can we go in, please?" And I was like, "No, what is that?" And I was like, "Oh my God, my dogs," and immediately I was thinking, I was like, well, no, if she wanted to get my dogs, she'd already have them. They're up there with her. My dog's sitting beside her, like he's been up there with her the whole time. Like they've been buddies. And they're just sitting there, and it's just sitting there watching me. She had big green eyes. She had like long brown hair, or like blondish brown hair, and she had a big fluffy tail. It's like nothing I'd ever seen before. And in that moment, I was like, it's been a long time since something in the woods has like not. I guess it did frighten me at first, but it didn't frighten me enough to like want to run inside. So I was like, what is that? Because I always believe in my head, like if something wanted to get me, it would already have got me, especially something like that. And I didn't get like bad vibes from her, but in that moment, just for a moment, I was like, I wish Bigfoot was here. Like I wish my Sasquatch family was around. Like I wish I knew that they were around because it would make me feel so much better. And I don't know why I would feel so much better. And it was just in that, like I have this fantasy in my head that my Sasquatch family would protect me. And in that moment, I was like, well, they probably would, and if something was going to get me, they maybe they would already be down here. But she didn't give me bad vibes. I didn't get like dangerous feels from her. She just sat there, and she sat there for a couple minutes. Well, I just sat there and trying to get Courtney to describe to me what she was seeing because she wouldn't. Courtney just had shut down, and I forget that certain stuff traumatizes people. She had already, this is my friend, she had already been out on my property. She already had seen, like, in just a couple of years being friends with me, she had already seen Sasquatch. She had, I showed her a couple of different things in the sky that creeped her out because there's lights in the sky out here. And it's like, the satellites from the lights. The lights will hover and you'll just get this weird feeling from them. And then they'll move again. And then they'll just like zip, 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 and be gone and just zip right out of, zip right through the sky. Nothing that we have moves like that, and it's crazy. So she had already seen, like, in the couple years she'd been friends with me, these weird lights in the sky that she couldn't explain, and now she's seeing this creature that's sitting here, behind my barn that's been messing with us for weeks because she'd been at my house for a while, spending the night with me here and there. So she knew something was out there messing with me, but I just chalked it all up Sasquatch. Like, if things come out here and things mess with us, and I'm just in my mind, in my small little tiny brain mind, even though I'd already seen the Dogman, there's not much. I always thinking there's not much in the woods but Sasquatch, and I really just, and I, until you see something else to make you think, hey, what else is out there? You just don't know what you're thinking, because it she sat there for like 2 minutes while I wigged out and just was like, I wasn't afraid of her, and I was just like, wow, this thing's so cool. And my dogs like ran around her again, they weren't scared of her. That same dog that was sitting beside her when she left, like when she didn't, like when she comes back, but like when she left that summer or into that winter, sorry, when she left, like, because it was going from winter into spring when she left, he ran away. He was gone for 2 weeks. And I found him on the other side of the mountain. One of my neighbors, or one of the girls I went to school with, her mom found him. And she, like, if you look on my front porch, there's a mountain in front of me. If you go straight up that mountain and over the other side of it, you'll end up at her house. And there's no doubt in my mind that my dog followed her into the woods. He was depressed for like 2 weeks after she left. Like, he just laid in the house and cried and like got all mopey and wouldn't like go outside. And he was like the first one outside, you know. And yeah, it was really weird. But again, she sat there for a couple minutes while I freaked out, and she stood up and she turned around and walked into the woods. She had a big fluffy tail too. That was the coolest thing. Like, it wasn't like slick like a fox or something. It was like fluffy. And it was weird too because it put me in the mind of the kitsune, or like, you know, the Japanese like thing is like a fox that's supposed to turn into a lady, but she has this like, they have this like, depending on like their age or something, they're supposed to have like up to 9 tails. But this thing just had one big fluffy tail. But the way she moved in the woods, she moved like something I've never seen. Like, I know Bigfoots move, and they want to say that like they can cloak, or maybe even that they can portal out. Um, this thing moved so fast around you that you would only catch glimpses of her, and she would move so fast. And this is why she only had 2 arms, legs. A lot of people say that she has 6 legs or whatever, but if you see her when she's moving, she moves so fast that she looks like she has double digits. Like, she looks like she's got extra arms and extra legs because of the way she's moving. When she moves, it's like it doubles up, if that makes sense. But the way she moves through the woods is so fast like that you catch like a glimpse of her, but it's like tracers. You get tracers of her. So it honestly looks like she's got these double digits. And again, I don't know nothing about this cat-like creature that I've just seen. It takes me 2 days of like, we go back to the house and I get Courtney, my friend, to like, she won't say nothing to me. She won't tell me what she's seen. She's just freaked out. I was like, well, let's call my mom and you can tell my mom what you saw. And I'll tell my mom what we saw separately, and we'll see if we saw the same thing. Because I need to know what you saw. I need you to tell me what you've seen. Because, you know, I need to clarify it. I know what I saw, but I just, you know, and she described to my mom exactly what I had seen. And she told my mom, you know, it wasn't, she was like, I really want to go home. And I was like, well, I'm going to take her home, Mom, which I did. I took her home, and I came back home and I sat here, and it took me 2 days to really process, like, or maybe even like a day and a half to like sit here and like know that I saw this thing. Because my mom didn't want to talk about it, because my mom knows things are out there, but my mom's kind of scared of the dark. She knows these things are out there, but she doesn't want to think about that. So she's not scared when she's outside. It's understandable. I get it. But I didn't really have nobody to talk to about it. So like, finally it just like dawned on me. I was like, I'll just search cat-like creatures in Tennessee. And when I did, and this is really for like, this is like, you know, 2018. It's weird how whitewashed the stories are on Google that I found now, hence the ones that I found back then. Because I actually got in touch with somebody who was from the Cherokee Nation. Their story is completely different than the one that you get off of that is going around now on a lot of websites or even on podcasts. But reading the story of what the Wampus cat was from the Cherokee Nation, like, they described to a T what I had been dealing with, the whistling, the chattering, and what I had seen. They described down to her tail what I had seen, and it just made it so real. I was like, oh my God, you know, this is something that's been out there here this whole time. And I just didn't know it was there. And she just waited. According to the Cherokee legends, like, she an evil entity in the woods. She was something that messed with the Cherokee. And like, they knew she was there. They knew that this thing was there. They told people not to mess with it. The tribe told people not to mess with it. Well, one of the chief's daughter's husband went out and was supposed to went and fought this creature, and ended up finding it, and fighting it, and he ended up getting pretty bad hurt. They bring him back to the village and was like, you know, he's pretty bad hurt. Well, his wife, who was the chief's daughter, was like, all right, well, I'm going to seek revenge on this thing that is, you know. But she goes and she finds it, and she realizes that it's not an evil entity. It's not a demon. It's not something in the woods. She realizes what it is, and she bonds with it. Like, she has this connection with it, and it never messes with them again. It becomes this thing that then helps people. Like, if you're in need of, like, if you have a farm, especially women, if you if you're just having a hard time in life, like, she will come to visit you to help you in whatever way. And with me, um, my dad, there was a lot of stuff going on, you know, the farm is completely different. The energy that was here was completely different. But I had been spending a lot of time in the woods with the Sasquatch that summer. Just, you know, I just a lot of time in the woods. So I feel like she had come to visit me and to make me see other things, to let me know that it's not just the Sasquatch that are out there, that the things that are in the woods, there's things there. So that really got me started on this like journey of like what's in the woods, what's out here. And it in the end it ended up giving me a better connection and like a better relationship with the Sasquatch, because I'm outside all the time now because I just don't know what's out there. It's definitely one of those things where I need to be out in the woods. Like, I need to be out there. Like, you just never know what you're going to see. And now that I know that the Dogman exist, now there's these cat-like creatures, which somebody asked me, like, the way her face is shaped, and I never really described her face. She almost looks like a lion in the face, or like a mancoon. She kind of looks like a hairless cat, but she had hair. But she's just, the way the cat's face is, or the Egyptian cat's faces are, they're almost dog-like. Like, they have these almost dog-like snouts, but they're almost like a lion. And she had these big green eyes, and she was definitely a cat, though. She was definitely a cat. But like, um, I forgot where I was going with that. But now that I know, like, these things are out there, there's these different things out there. It's like the more you see, or the more that you know that's out there, the more you honestly you see. Because I've seen, like, I think it was like Sasquatch, Dogman, and then I saw a gargoyle, like what I would describe it, maybe a Mothman. I don't know. But it was like small. It wasn't big, but it was like the size of an owl, but it looked like a gargoyle. And I saw that in North Carolina at a friend's house. And me and another girl was at a place, and she saw it too. And it was just, you know, I've seen that. And then I was with the girl who saw the Wampus cat with me. I was with her mother in the next county over, kind of close to where I saw the Dogman, and we saw a rake, which I didn't know what a rake was. It's like, it looks like this like hairless, like goblin like thing. It looked like a hairless rabbit standing on two legs walking across the road. And my friend, like, I went to like look at my friend's mom because she was driving the car. She'd stopped already, which I knew she saw it. But I went to like look over at her to be like, do you see that? And she's looking at me like, oh my God. Because she's like, you know, here it is. My daughter's seeing these things with you, like Sasquatch and stuff. And now here's this strange thing walking out in front of the road in front of us. And she immediately just says, she's like, why do we keep seeing stuff why do people keep seeing stuff when they're with you? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, honestly, this is a first. I've never seen one of these. I don't know what that is. The thing was walking across the road. It got in the middle of the road, and it looked at us like it was like it was on a mission, but it didn't care about us. And it was just like it wanted to mess with us, but it didn't have the time or something. I don't know how to describe it. It looked grouchy. It looked like we were disturbing its walk across the road. And it was just like, all right, whatever. And it just kind of like shrugged us off and just kept walking. And it was just like this, like we get back to we were going to a friend's house, and we get there, and she immediately jumps out and runs inside and tells everybody that, like, we saw this giant hairless rabbit that walked across the road in front of us. And they just immediately, of course, think that we're crazy and making stuff up, but her daughter was there, my friend, and she was like, oh no. She was like, no, there's things out there. Sonya sees these things. Like, these things, like, come out when Sonya's around, and she's like, count on that. And they're just like, so I had a lot of friends that didn't ever want to. I have a lot of people that don't want to come to my house, or that don't want to come to my house and stay all night. But yeah, she stayed. The Wampus cat stayed around for a few weeks, for like a couple months more, until about springtime, from December till probably the end of March, 1st of April. And then I didn't hear her anymore for a minute, and just every now and then, I haven't seen her since then. 2 days after I first initially saw her, my sister's boyfriend at the time come up to the house, and he was like, hey, will you come in the woods with me? And I was like, why? He was like, because I think there's coon hunters in the woods. I think there's people out here raccoon hunting or deer hunting or whatever. And I was like, why do you think that? And he was just like, I'm hearing stuff in the woods. And I'm like, tell me more. And he's just like telling me that he was hearing stuff. He was hearing people talking in the woods. And I was like chattering. And I said, did you hear whistles? And he was like, yeah, yeah, I was hearing people whistling and stuff. And I was like, oh. And I told him what I saw. And I think at that moment when I was telling him, he thought I was crazy. I think he thought I was literally off my rocker. And I could tell he didn't like really believe me. And I was like, he's like, well, do you want to go in the woods? And I was like, well, no, I really don't, but I do. Like, I want to see her again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to go. So I was like, fine. So I grabbed my sawed off and I like, probably shouldn't say that. I grabbed my, I grabbed my equipment and ran out the door. And then, we got out in the woods and we were out in the woods for like 4 hours. But the first 2 hours we walked across the property. I have 58 acres. So we stayed on our property, but we were walking for like an hour and she followed us. The first hour we were walking, we were just hearing noises and like the chattering and the whistling, right? So it led us deeper into the woods. And about an hour after we started walking, she started running around us. Like it would run around us. And like I said, you would only catch a glimpse of her tail or maybe just a little bit of her, but you could never see her. Not like I saw her. And me and Tom stood, he was like, well, stand with your back to my back. And we stood back to back with our flashlights off. And he was like, when it runs around, he was like, I'm gonna try to get I'm gonna try to see what this thing is because it just ran around us so fast, like we couldn't get a glimpse of it. And it was making weird noises and it would sound like it was on one end of the woods and then it sounded like it was on the other end of the woods. And it did this to us for hours. And we walked around those woods while it did this for, like I said, like for 3 more hours before we finally just, went home. And right as we're on our way home, we had 2 dogs with us, the only 2 dogs that would come with us because the other dogs wouldn't come. Um, Actually, I wouldn't let the other dogs come because you can't really walk in the woods with about 5 dogs. You can't hear anything when that happens. So, so our one big dog, which we still have her, she's our Great Pyrenees, she's our guard dog. And this other dog that had weirdly just showed up a few days before, like I don't know whose dog this was. He was deaf. I don't know where he came from, but he was just hanging out with our guard dog. So it was just the two of them. And they were right behind me. And she had run up and run around us, and I fell. And Tom come over to help me up where I'd fell. Um, and when he did, the dogs were just standing within like 2 or 3 feet of us, and whatever it was, come running beside both me and Tom and grabbed that other dog and rolled him. And we kind of saw like her run into it or whatever. And it was just like she disappeared and the dog rolled down the hill and the look on the dog's face was just terror, complete terror. And he just got as fast as he could right up out of the woods. He'd been there the whole time and the thing had run around him the whole time and it knocked that dog down. It scared the heck out of the dog. And we were just like, what is this thing? Like we can't. Tom's like, I don't know. Like Tom's like, he's like, I've never had anything in the woods ever do this. And I was like, I'm telling you, Tom, it's this cat thing that I saw. It's this cat thing. And he was like, by the time we got back to the bottom of the hill, he believed me. He 100%. He doesn't know what it was because he didn't see it himself, but he knows it was something. And I was definitely not lying to him when I told him there was something out there. It was pretty intense. But like, again, I wasn't scared. I wasn't scared of her. I wasn't scared of going outside. I wasn't scared. I was never scared. I was frightened initially when I first saw her and it wasn't really fright. It was more, wow, wow, what is that? And it really was. And it was just like, I don't know what that is. And that's the fear because you do fear what you don't know. And that's the truth. And it's really hard not to. Anywho.
Dang. Yes, it is very true to fear things that we don't understand. And that is all very interesting and some epic stuff right there. I was familiarized enough where I had heard about the Wampus cat and such. And as you were talking, you pretty much answered all the questions I was going to ask because I was wondering if it was just females that had been spotted, etc., if it was a skinwalker. But no, you pretty much tapped on a ton of different things right there.
And when I think about her now, because it took me a couple days to process, and I've still, I like I don't know. I still wonder, like what her story is compared to the others. So I've had people ask me, could it be a female dog man? And I was like, well, she does have a very dog-like face, but it's definitely, but lions do too, sort of.
And
Like lions have
hyenas,
this
yeah.
snout, and hyenas, that's right, right. And even baboons, let's be honest,
Yep.
like have this, like, and like we talked about that, they all have this, like, but you know the difference between it. Like it was her eyes, like 100% giant green cat eyes. She had these giant green eyes that were just, she was definitely cat-like. And like I said, like when I saw the dog man, he was definitely dog-like. Like it was definitely, there was definitely a difference if you like, you know what I mean? There was definitely a difference. The one looked just like a werewolf or like a wolf, and this looked just like, it looked like one of those Egyptian cats is what it reminded me of. Like it's what,
Hmm.
or like the Mancoon cats,
That's
because
so
they have
cool.
that like almost human-like face, but it's almost, I don't know, and it's, I don't know, and her snout was like almost like a lion because it was like almost dog-like, but it was like a lion. And I realized I wish I could draw. I can draw conclusions, but I'm not very good at drawing, like drawing other things. So I really wish I could get like a sketch artist to like. But there's been some really, honestly, there's been a few AI things, and I hate to even say that, but there's just been a few AI sketches where it's like that's really close to what I saw. And again, there's a lot of rumors about her having like 6 legs or whatever it is, 8 legs or 2 extra arms, 2 extra legs, or whatever it is. If you've seen the way this thing moved, you would see why, because the way it moves, it makes it look like she's got extra legs. She moves so fast, it's like there's tracers of her, like literally tracers from her arms and legs or her tail or whatever, because of the way she moves through the woods. And again, and it's like it reminds me of the Japanese legend of the kitsune, and that's what they would do, the way they move. I mean, um, somebody had sent me that after I told my story, and somebody was like, "Oh, like the kitsune," and I was like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I remember watching animes with those." It's almost like they're almost like an identical story, and it's crazy because the Japanese legend says she's like a fox, like that's literally kitsune is like the Japanese word for fox. So it's just weird how there's these different cultures and these things that live there or that live in their woods, and they're very much animalistic, but they're saying fox, this is a cat, there's a dog, here's an ape. There's just these, it's crazy because we just have these different areas and these different, you know, these really cool creatures that live there.
Yeah, no, that's some excellent stuff, and I couldn't agree more, my friend. And yes, fascination and just learning is something that is super appealing to me. So, just the wealth of information and knowledge right there that you provided is excellent because, like I said, I was aware of it, and I know it falls somewhere into the dogman category as people tend to not understand that there's so many different variants. And if you do follow my show, I've spoken about that numerous times. And if not, this if you're a first time listener, just scroll through and you can definitely find some episodes where I explain why it's broken down like that. But no, thanks so much for coming to hang out with us tonight and bringing some really cool experiences and knowledge. And well, it sounds like it was cool for you, but it didn't sound like it was cool for your friend because I already know that you find this stuff cool as well. But yes, so that is totally excellent. And I look forward to collaborating here again shortly. And also keep me updated if you do find out any more intriguing information about that or any other lore that involves potential dogman stuff that's going on down in your neck of the woods. That's epic.
Yeah, because they're all connected. I mean, all of these things are connected in one way or another, you know.
Wow, if you did make it this far tonight, you truly are epic. I do appreciate all the support. And if you do enjoy my content, please like, subscribe, share it, and feed the algorithm. And remember, massacres make the dream work, or something like that.